The year was 1874, a land where dust devoured towns and silence weighed heavier than bullets. Out in the withered trails of Texas, there rode a man named Elias Boone. At 40 years of age, his body carried more scars than strength. His beard was untrimmed, streaked with gray, and his eyes, once sharp as desert eagles, now looked tired, as though each sunrise was another burden. He had once been a name feared in saloons, whispered in outlaw camps, respected by lawmen who couldn't catch him and criminals who wouldn't dare cross him. But now he was just a man riding a broken horse, with no destination but forward. The land had turned quiet since the wars ended. Quiet, except for the ghosts he carried. His wife buried in shallow soil, his son taken by fever before he even learned to ride. Every loss cut him hollow until he stopped caring. Elias Boone had sworn never again to fight, never again to feel, never again to bleed for anyone but himself. But the desert had its own cruel way of testing men who swore oaths. It was near sundown when Elias stumbled upon a scene that cracked the oath wide open. The old trail passed through a ghost town, its saloon doors swinging in the wind, windows shattered, sand swirling through empty corridors of forgotten lives. And there, near the well at the town's heart, he saw her, a young girl no more than 17. Clothes torn into rags, dust caked into her skin, chest half exposed where fabric had ripped away. Her face was bruised, lips split, eyes wide with terror. She flinched when she saw Elias, her small frame retreating like a frightened deer. "I won't hurt you," Elias muttered, his voice rough from years of silence. She hesitated, eyes flickering between trust and fear. And then, in a whisper broken by sobs, she said, "Please, don't leave me." The cowboy's chest tightened. He had heard that plea before, in another life, from another pair of desperate eyes. And he had failed them. "Who did this to you?" he asked. She shook her head violently. "They'll come back. They'll kill me if you stay." Elias's jaw locked. The smart thing would be to ride away. That was the oath, no more saving, no more caring. But smart things had never carried weight against the heaviness in his soul. He lifted her gently onto his horse, covering her with his tattered coat. "They won't touch you," he promised. The girl clutched his arm, trembling. "You don't know them." "I don't need to," Elias said, mounting beside her. Night fell quick, the sky swallowing the last flame of sun. The desert air turned cold, and with it came the sound, hooves pounding like thunder rolling from the horizon. The girl froze. "They found me," she whispered. Through the dark came the riders, 6 men, shadows with torches burning, rifles hanging loose at their sides, eyes gleaming with cruel hunger. They reeked of whiskey and blood, men who thrived on breaking what was pure. The lead rider, a beast of a man with a scar running down his cheek, grinned wide. "Boone," he called, recognizing him. "Didn't think I'd see the great ghost of the West babysitting." Elias said nothing, his hand hovering near the worn handle of his revolver. "Hand her over," the man spat. "She belongs to us." The girl's fingers dug into Elias's arm. "Please," she begged again, tears streaking her dirt-stained cheeks, and something inside the weary cowboy snapped back to life. "Not tonight," Elias said. The riders exchanged looks, then broke into laughter. But it wasn't laughter for long. The night erupted with gunfire. Elias drew faster than the years should have allowed. His first shot tore the torch from a rider's hand, plunging part of the trail into sudden dark. His second found a chest. Screams cut through the desert as chaos unfolded. Bullets whizzed past Elias, ripping splinters from the ghost town's wooden beams. The girl ducked low against the horse's neck as he fired again, striking another outlaw from his saddle. The horse reared, neighing in panic as Elias held steady, his revolver speaking in thunder. But there were too many. The outlaws circled, their rifles sparking fire into the night. Elias felt a burning line tear across his shoulder, blood seeping into his coat. His vision blurred, yet his hand did not tremble. "Run!" he barked at the girl. She shook her head, refusing to let go. The gunfight dragged into silence, bodies fallen, torches dying, the night echoing with groans of the dying. Elias's breath came ragged. Only 2 riders remained, circling like wolves. And then the scarred man dismounted, stepping closer, pistol in hand. His grin glistened in the moonlight. "You can't save her, Boone. You never saved anyone." Elias clenched his jaw, blood dripping from his temple, revolver hanging heavy in his grip. The girl hid behind him, trembling but holding on. And in that fragile, broken moment, the weight of his past pressed hard against him. The sins of failure clawing up from the graves he left behind. Elias Boone had to decide to surrender the girl and live another wasted day, or stand and fight one last time. The scarred man's taunt hung in the night air like a noose. Elias Boone's heart hammered, each beat reminding him he was still alive. Alive for one reason, the girl clutching his coat from behind. He lifted his revolver, his arm steady, despite the blood soaking through his shirt. "Then tonight," Elias rasped, "I change that." The scarred man fired first. The flash lit his face in wicked light. Elias twisted, the bullet grazing past his ribs. His return shot struck the man's thigh, sending him stumbling with a howl. The last rider charged forward, rifle raised. Elias pushed the girl to the ground, spun, and fired once, twice. The second shot hit true, the rider crashing lifelessly into the dust. Only the scarred man remained, crawling toward his pistol in the dirt, cursing with every breath. Elias approached slowly, revolver aimed, eyes hollow yet burning. "Boone," the man hissed, "you'll die for this girl. And it won't matter. She'll be hunted long after your bones rot." Elias paused, lowering his revolver just enough to meet the man's eyes. "Then let them hunt her shadow, not her soul." The shot rang out, final and absolute. The scarred man slumped back, the desert claiming him. Silence returned, heavy and endless. Only the girl's sobs broke through, her hands shaking as she crawled to Elias. "You saved me," she whispered. Elias dropped to one knee, his strength unraveling. Blood seeped fast, staining the ground. He pressed the revolver into its holster with trembling fingers. "You ride," he told her, forcing the words out. "Take the horse. Keep going east till you see the river. Don't stop." Her eyes filled with panic. "No, I won't leave you." "You will," he cut her off, his voice firm but soft. "Because I can't ride with you anymore." Tears blurred her sight as she shook her head. "I can't do this alone." Elias cupped her cheek with a blood-stained hand. "You ain't alone. You've got your life. That's more than most out here." She clung to him, refusing to move. "Why? Why would you do this for me?" Elias's eyes softened for the first time in decades. "Because I couldn't before. And I ain't dying with that weight still on me." The horse neighed nearby, restless under the smell of blood and gunpowder. Elias pulled the reins into her trembling hands. "Go!" he whispered. She mounted, her tears falling freely. From the saddle, she looked back, the moon casting Elias in silver light, a weary cowboy kneeling in the dust, a faint smile curling beneath his beard despite the blood pooling around him. "Don't look back," he said. She wanted to scream, to refuse, to fight fate. But something in his eyes told her it was the only way. With one last sob, she spurred the horse forward, vanishing into the horizon. Elias watched until the sound of hooves faded into the distance. The desert was silent again. His revolver lay heavy in its holster, but his heart felt strangely light. For the first time in years, he had done more than survive. He had given someone a chance to live. He leaned back against the well, eyes drifting up to the stars that burned endless above the plains. The wind carried the faint echo of her voice, her plea, her gratitude. He closed his eyes, a faint smile etched across his weary face. When dawn rose, painting the sky in blood red and gold, Elias Boone did not rise with it. But his legend did. In towns scattered across the west, whispers grew of the weary cowboy who stood against the wolves, who gave his last breath to protect innocence. They said the girl lived, that she carried his story with her, that wherever she went, people spoke his name with respect, and in that endless desert, where dust covered the bones of forgotten men, Elias Boone's final act became a light no storm could snuff out. The last ride of the weary cowboy had ended, but his soul still rode forever in the wide, unforgiving West.